This is such a good topic. In this episode, you'll get a breakdown of the quote Anger is medicine when you stop swallowing it, and why suppressed rage is destroying your health and relationships. Welcome to Energy Alignment for Entrepreneurs, the podcast helping entrepreneurs be free from anxiety, stress, and tension through balancing emotions and consciousness expansion. Here's 3 things that you'll learn today. Number 1, why, quote, spiritual men, quote, who never feel anger are the most dangerous ones. Number 2, how to channel rage into creative power instead of passive aggressive poison. And number 3, the practice, feeling the fire without letting it consume you or others. Let's jump right into the quote. So you have anger, and then you have medicine, and then the metaphor of swallowing the anger. So ultimately, this just speeds us up immediately to the cornerstone of fear or love. Because you may not see on the surface anger to be a derivative or in relationship to fear. But if you look a little closer, you'll always see that the way that anger forms is when your identity is threatened in some shape or form or extension. You may be angry because someone does something that triggers one of your deeper fears. Quite frequently, that is how anger is born. Now, when we look at the medicine of anger, when you process it, see, the thing is, swallowing the anger is a depiction of suppressing the rage, right? And even in one of those points, we have the word suppression. Or where did we have that? Oh, and why suppress? Let me take a step back. Because what happens when you suppress or swallow your anger is you do not process. And that energy gets sent into the spiral of a downward vortex, right? So compounding works both ways. And your health and relationships will suffer dearly when your heart is emanating on a vibration of anger. In other words, let's compare this to the weather, right? You're not going to walk outside into a blizzard with 20 mile an hour winds and when the weather feels negative 30 out. You're going to dress up properly. The same thing goes for positioning yourself intentionally in the bigger picture. Let's say there are these 3 pillars which matter very much to humans. You have pillar 1, which is health. You have pillar 2, which is wealth. And pillar 3, which is relationships. If you are sending out that energy, you will get back what you send out. So operating on a vibration of anger just attracts and creates these situations in your life where that's what surrounds you. But on the other end, when you do not suppress the rage, see, this is way harder than ignoring the rage in the short term. In the big picture, it's the right decision. But in the short term, you basically have 2 ends of the pole. In one end is pleasure, and another end is meaning, right? And a lot of us, it's easier or more pleasurable to move fast and suppress our emotions rather than taking the time, the space, and putting that intention into processing that which we feel. Now, you may say, yeah, but how do I process something that is being triggered in an environment which is overstimulating, right? That could be your 9 to 5. That could be when you're around a lot of people in public and traffic, you get triggered. How do you process those forms of triggers where the variables or the risk is higher, right? In relationship to your identity, your income, your money, list goes on. The secret here is that we're going to use point number 1 to describe the secret. Number one is why spiritual men who never feel anger are the most dangerous ones. And it is because when you decide, when you really choose and get clear on what disgusts you, you are confronted with a path, which is to look at all of the things within yourself that you know are not right, and that you know need to change. The thing there is the people who act as if they know things, but then they suppress their energetic vibrations. They put a mask on top of a mask, if you will, right? It's this very tricky loop of maybe it's like driving at night without your headlights on. These people, they don't know that's what they're doing. But if you adopt any form of a label, that's when things get a little bit dangerous. So, why I introduced point number one earlier with quote unquote spiritual men is because they're not actually connected when they're attached to a label of being spiritual. Now, if you were to talk to me and like ask me and pose me these questions, I would have a real conversation with you without getting defensive or overreactive or offended. Because I would understand the energy in which those questions are coming through, and I would work together with you to get the conversation to a place of real meaning, where we could both actually have a form of a relationship and be sharing the space together, as in communion. So the big picture here is that you have fear and you have unity. And you can't just walk around in life saying, yeah, love, light, unity, because it doesn't work like that. That's the quote unquote illusion, false label, spiritual man. You see, it's those real ideas of, I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. It is that real strength is actually in the individual who will walk away from the invitation to battle, right? And there are a lot of ways to depict this, but when we talk about the spiritual men, the suppression of anger being the most dangerous ones, the point really is there that if you think you know something, I please ask you to double check. Because although I talk here from a perspective in which it may seem as if I understand what I'm speaking about, but let me be very honest with you. The only reason I can speak on this level is because my identity is not attached to you seeing me as an authority. My identity gets nothing, nada, nothing from this false pleasure of acting like I am higher than another by inferring that I know something you don't. The bottom line is everything that I have ever seen in my heart and all the work I've ever done is very possible within you as well. And the fact is, the bottom line is that we are the same exact thing. At the root, when you zoom out enough, in that awareness, that revelation allows for you to change your emanations and your heart's vibrations. That's where we go back to anger. You see, I'm trying my best to zoom out and zoom in to allow this to be practical, useful in daily life, whilst also explaining the bigger picture. So, that's not always the easiest thing to do, so bear with me, and I am grateful for you and your patience. Now, point number two, how to channel rage into creative power instead of passive aggressive poison. Man, this is a lot of what my high school life was: passive aggressive poison. And you don't know what you don't know. And the only way you learn is by operating on frequencies which are lower. That's the only way that you can learn or remember what you are. Because that pain, that suffering, that confusion, that nervous system overload, that anxiety, that conflict between the mind, the heart, and the gut, all of that leads to a whittling away, a water stream flowing through the mountains in erosion of that which we refer to as me. This identity is extraordinarily useful. But the point of being here on earth, the reason you're here, the reason you're listening to this right now, is not so we can self improvement and so I can have more skills and be better. Now, I use that voice, I use that playfulness because all simultaneously, each one of you, I can very much understand that you see the importance in moving through life, in being open minded, in taking action, in creating rhythm, in shooting shots, in having courage when you're scared, practically. Like, as inside as outside. It's all the same. So you do this alchemy so that you can show up better for the world, but you remember the cornerstone root of I and you are the same. We are both the same. So this is what this realization allows for you to see how to channel rage into creative power instead of the passive aggressive poison. When you see that you are another and you walk practically doing your best every day to have a sensitivity and an awareness of the emanations that your heart is creating, you'll change what you say, you'll change how you talk, you'll change who you interact with, you'll be so much more strategical without effort. That's the big kicker. See, there's a falseness in over planning, in that's why I do the voice, because I am sort of playing with the nature of uh, thinking that the logical mind can map out every step and understand everything. So you take a step back, you realize, man, this rage, this thing is feeling, it is eating, it is it is taking so much of my life force, of my everyday consciousness. It's just absorbing me. So you finally say, you know what? I'm going to look at this rage. I am going to understand this rage. And I'm going to figure out how I can use this in a way which feels right, which is right, and which is true. And the fact is, that's where the idea of alchemy comes into the fold. Again, we cannot attach to, oh, so we're alchemists. Oh, so we're Christians. Oh, so we read Rumi. Like, the bottom line is that that's one of the biggest traps, is thinking that there's only one path. The truth is the truth, and it's said in many forms. The bottom line is that language is a effort to communicate that which is incommunicable. The truth is in your bones, in your blood, in your heart, in your nervous system. You feel, you process. It is that infinite intelligence. Do you really think God necessarily, how do I put it here? Maybe you can speak things into existence. We can speak for a reason, but all simultaneously, where does speech begin? That's the deeper question. Can you have awareness of the underlying mechanisms of how thought determines how you work? And then you start to unravel thought. So, point is, with this awareness, you notice more and more the rage. The only way you can channel the rage into creative power is having awareness around what triggers the rage, and learning to laugh at yourself, to let go of those identity traps which trigger rage. Because you'll see very frequently, unless you are put in a situation which is really powerful, 99% of the time, rage will be invoked because of a immature self, because of you, because of I, inside us. We are responsible for our own rage. Now, let's take an example. Um, the 1% would be, I use this example on the other end sometimes, which is go kick a baby. Feel you are when you kick a baby, right? I'm not actually saying do it. Please do not. Rather, just put yourself in that state of, man, yeah, I know that is not right. Okay? So what I'm referencing is the 1% of the time where that rage is a natural response is, let's say you see someone go kick a baby, right? Then that rage is like, all right, you can, even then you can channel it into a creative power where you don't have to go kick the other person, but you're definitely not going to let that continue. Um, I know that in my heart, at least, if I saw something extremely wrong, I would be acting so fast that I logically didn't do anything. It would just be in my heart, I know what's right and I know what's wrong, and that's what I'm saying. That's the big point here. You have the compass inside of you, and what I'm kind of nudging you to do is really process what is on your heart. Because as you do that work, your heart changes, man. And that's what humanity is going through. We're all going through it. Some people, different levels, different pace, different intensity, different timing. So we need people to be leaders. And the only way you can be a leader is to move by example. It's not always just one thing. You have to embody the essence of living in alignment, and that means you notice your own weakness, whether it be rage, jealousy, insecurity. Remember, it all starts from some form of a fear in relationship to who you think yourself to be. I, me, insert your name, memories, knowledge, and past experiences, present experiences. It's all something that we need to be able to look at from the bird's eye perspective. So, number 3, the practice. Feeling the fire without letting it consume you or others. And this is where the passive aggressive poison dissipates because that creative power is instilled. The rage is felt, processed, alchemized into a new energy, creative power, and therefore the space which the demons, the dark, or in other words, the passive aggressive poison would have consumed in your energetic signature. Now that is all changing. And this is a output of feeling the fire without letting it consume you or others. So the practice really is that you're moving through life. It could be early morning, afternoon, any time of the day. You may have these triggers where you get a friction, your breath is altered, and you start to maybe you can feel the tenseness in your muscles and your ligaments. Maybe your toes curl or your hands clench, um, or your mind, your eyebrows, you get that little, that anger, that angry look in your eyebrows, etc. I cannot list every single bodily sensation that you will be able to notice with presence and awareness the moment that triggers arise. But the fact is, as you do this work, as you do not think, add to it, you see, this is the big thing. We have fear, we have love, we have addition, subtraction. What we're learning to do is realize that the truth has always been within us, and we have been so added to that we have forgotten who we are, and what we're doing here. And the bottom line is that that's changing. That's no longer. Humanity is waking up to the fundamental realization that we can see what Christ talked about. To actually see. Do you just look or can you see? And see, this is what I mean with the words. You need to read between the lines of my words. I cannot, how do I put it? If I were to just try to pour the facts, it wouldn't reach your heart in the way that it reaches you when the stories, the metaphors, the sensations, it's all um, put out in a playful manner. So I'm doing my best to make this easily digestible. The thing is, do not try to listen to me. Simply hear what I'm saying, okay? There's a difference between logically forcing and trying to get something out of this. There's a big difference between that and understanding that this is what you need to hear and that you're just going to listen. And the truth is that you can play these episodes over and over. Not one episode over and over. I mean, you could. I'm not, but hopefully that makes sense. Now, feeling the fire, without letting it consume you or others, it's this big picture. It's seeing that you and I were the same thing. If I am going to be aligned with Christ consciousness, be aligned with all of the truth in this world from many different forms and cultures and areas, the bottom line is that you see the unity. You see that we need to treat our neighbor as thyself, treat thyself as thy neighbor, as within and the same as outside, as above, same as below. You are the current. You are when we look at the ocean, there's individual waves, there's droplets, but everything is coming back to the source continuously. The waves crash, it seems like it's an individual wave, and then it's back into the ocean immediately. This is what we are. We need to learn to let go of that which keeps us divided, that which fools us into being separate. You do this by noticing the separateness arise each day. Now, you will find yourself where your mind advances, and now the mind is getting spiritual, and the mind is like trying to notice, like you're thinking about not thinking. So you'll go through those roadblocks too, and they're tough, but ultimately you just got to learn to move with the rhythm. Notice when you're holding on. Get a little dicey in your step, a little gist in your step. Be unpredictable, but you need to ground yourself too. So it's like, hey, what is he saying? Exactly, I'm saying figure it out because you're intelligent. And this, what we're talking about here is something so beautiful that it's beyond the mundane dullness of me saying, do this, and do this, and do this. And yep, I'm the authority. I know what I'm talking about here. And you should all do exactly what I like. No, no, I'm speaking to you from the bottom of my heart. And this is the journey. And I know this journey is not only mine, it's all of ours. And like, let's create something beautiful, right? Let's be the best we can possibly be every day, every moment. Learn to forgive ourselves, let go of the grudges, and free thyself from the illusion of the mind, right? It's abracadabra. I create as I speak. I am thankful for you, sincerely. Let's hop into the recap. The swallowed fire. Every time you suppress anger to keep the peace, you're drinking poison hoping the other person dies. That suppressed rage becomes anxiety, resentment, and disease. Literal, physical manifestation. It all starts with the thought, the mind, the emotions. Now, the sacred rage. Anger is your soul's alarm system telling you a boundary has been violated. Honor it, feel it, and channel it. But stop pretending it doesn't exist. Bingo. Now, the transmutation path. You don't suppress anger or explode with it. You alchemize it. Feel the heat, breathe through the charge, then direct that energy into building what matters. Truly, I am so thankful for you. Thank you. Your anger isn't the problem, your relationship with it is. Stop swallowing it like a good boy and start using it as the fuel it was always meant to be. The world doesn't need more passive men. It needs men who can feel their fire and forge something real with it. Amen to that. New episodes are out Monday, Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I wrote a book on fitness, 90 days. Check that out. It's in the description. It's a great deal. Anyone can afford it.